So I'm on Facebook Live today, something that I hardly ever do. But today I'm compelled to do this. Compelled to do this because I'll never be ready if I wait for the time when I'll be ready to actually do this. And what I'm waiting for is not existing. And that is why I'm actually going live today. So, and it's okay. I'm not looking for many people to come join this broadcast, but I'm also going to leave it on my timeline so that someone else may actually bump into it. It has happened before that I make a post and one person actually find use in it. It's a very, very important use of that particular post. So that's one of the reasons, again, that I decide I'm going to do this again, because I am compelled within myself, just like anybody else who's compelled to give any advice, solicited or unsolicited. We all have this platform available to us, and I respect the fact that Sunday afternoon, like it is today, people go to social media platforms to wind down and to escape from the realities and the pressures of life, and some just to forget about it all because tomorrow we're going to work. I do understand that, and I respect that. In fact, for that reason, you can put this off, and if you will come back to it some other time, it will be okay. But if you don't, that is also okay, because I also do understand that not everything that is important to one person will be the same to another. Having said that, I was just making a long introduction so that more and more people get a notification that I'm live. It's nicer when you're live because then you get to interact if you want to. If you have questions that you may perhaps want to post in, or any additions that you would like to make, or contributions that you'd like to make on this broadcast. And I will respond to as many as possible, and I'll just reply back if those come in. It has never happened before. I'm not expecting for it to happen today, but I'm open to it, that it will happen today. And I want to talk to people who are like me on the main. People abafana nam, but what's on lena on the main. Who are the people that are like me? And the people that are like me are people who are black, who are adults, who are parents on the main. And hopefully there will be both who are parents within the family setup, and those that are not within the family setup. It would have been awesome if it would be in a family setup, because the dynamics of parenting within a family setup, a proper family setup, and by proper, and I know that there's going to be a lot of mistakes, by the way, in this. There might be a lot of things that you do not hold the same view and opinion, but I'm just giving my honest, from the heart, nuggets with the intention to edify, with the intention to add value. No one is meant to be offended by this, but if you are, know that that is not my intention at all. It would have been proper, and this is not to judge anyone, by the way. Remember, at the heart of this, I'm talking about parenting. We'll talk about other things as time goes on, but right now I want to engage on parenting, because the focal point is these people that have very limited ability to really arrest the things that affect their future. Those people who depend on adults, the generation, those who who expect or who depend on the generation that is my generation and older, to guide them, to pass the baton, and to actually help them in their development to be the best people they can ever be, to be the best citizens that they can ever be, but to be the best versions of themselves. And these are the kids, the children that we as parents are beholden to actually bring up. because the responsibility of parenting, it has many, many demands on us as parents that more often than not, we don't think about it. And because we don't think about it, we don't think about the effects and the impact of our actions, the impact and the effects of our words on the future of the children, number one, on the psyche of the children, number two, on the development of the children, number three, on the formation of self-awareness, the kind of picture that our kids have of themselves, and the esteem that we either build or destroy in them with either our words or our actions, whether in front of them or anywhere else. I find that we as parents these years, there's a serious disconnect and a disconnection between us and our children. There is a serious disconnection, and we are exposed a lot by the things that we do on social media platforms when we want to do what we want to do and we want to have fun. There are things that we will want to justify because they make us feel, comfortable or feel at ease if we justify them. And it's about us and not about our children. And the disconnect that I'm talking about is the fact that I feel that we as parents, when we do things that make us happy, the us exclude the children. What is foremost important is how I feel at that particular time and how much I'm fed up with the world or this or that, and I need some me time. And as a concept, maybe as an educational concept or as an academic concept, it's good to have your me time to recharge for your children. But I'm here to say that, and this is not a expert counselor type of thing. This is my opinion, and you are entitled to dismissing it, that it doesn't make sense to be a parent and put yourself first before your child's interest. I really don't see it making it sense that you have a child and what is important is your happiness first, then you can transfer that happiness to the child. It doesn't make sense. And someone may say, but if I'm not happy, how can I then be of any useful use for my child? The thing is exactly this, Uti. Parenting is not optional. This is not something that you can do as and when you feel like doing. You must do this. You must do this, even to the extent of laying down your very life for that child. Especially if you consider the fact that there's no child that raised up their hands, that put up their hands to say, can you please bring me on earth? The circumstances under which parents become parents are different. And I know that you know them. I'm not going to go there. I'm talking here about the things that you know, that the child is here. Children are here because of us, because of you and I. And that child did not ask to be brought to earth. And so that child does not have anything that prepared them for the world, for the challenges of the world, for the ruthlessness of, because the world we're living in is very ruthless, it's very uncaring. In fact, it's very dangerous, even to the children. They do not have any armor around them, you are their armor. So your happiness, and you can try to convince me otherwise, your happiness can never come before the child's safety, the child's security, the child's well-being, the child's health, the child's development, and the child's sense of belonging and self of modeling themselves from a parent who is caring, who is loving. Loving and caring for your child is not something that should be optional. Not at all. And a lot of the times we find ourselves on social media platforms, agreeing to certain thoughts which are actually opposing this thing that I'm saying, that are opposed to this thing that I'm saying, because I am fed up as a parent by whatever thing that really drives me up the wall. I can actually park my parental responsibilities and focus on myself. And I do not see how that can be justifiable, except to the extent that at the very least, you are absolutely incapable, either mentally or to do certain things, physically, to ensure these 5 things that I've spoken about. It's not only 5 of them. There are many, and you know what they are. Unless you have this absolute incapacity that is beyond your control, justifiable. But there are certain things which are mediocre that we put forward as reasons for neglecting children. A lot of the times we would much rather be seen to be very busy trying to earn money so that we can buy our children material things. That is all well and good. But when it becomes more, when it takes more of the time in your existence that you have less time with your child, it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem in a sense that that child has to see certain characteristics from somewhere and take those for themselves. Someone has to model certain things and certain traits and certain, patterns and behavioral patterns and all of those things. Someone has to model that. If you are not there, someone else or something else is going to take that space. And if someone or any other thing takes up that space and model life in a wrong way in that child, you surely would understand why I will not blame the person who has taken your place in that child's life. Because as a parent, you are the first responder in any emergency of your child. And as a result thereof, you are first responsible for the life of the child and the well-being of the child, all of those things that I've outlined earlier on. Even as the spiritual needs of the child. And I've always said this, that I am the first and the most fundamental priest in my child's life. And that is how it's supposed to be. The first teacher that the child is supposed to have, you owe it as a parent to be that. The first teaching experience, the first training experience, that child is supposed to have that with you as a parent. Even when you have sent your child to the best schools in the world, they are useless if you then use the fact that you have sent them to the best schools so that you can substitute your responsibility of teaching them about the fundamental things. And we worry today that there's crime, there's waywardness, and there's all sorts of things. If you can look outside, politicians use young people to achieve their means. If you are observant, because these things are again on these social media platforms. I don't know what things we see as individuals, but any force out there uses the energy and the naivety and the availability and the indiscretion of children in order to achieve their means. And these are people's children. These children have parents that are alive more often than not, but their parents are not there. So someone else has stepped in. And when we speak as a nation, and particularly black people, because we as black people, we need to come to a point where we become so concerned about the fact that the color of crime in South Africa is our children. It's our brothers, it's our sisters. They are the color of crime. How is it that we are content with that? How is it that we do not see just how much the cycle continues to be perpetuated in what we do? Because here is the thing, whatever that you are not intentional about, you can, by luck, by a stroke of luck, build, but you can equally be destroying because your mind is not in it. Your thought is not in it. Your intentions are not in it. I really don't know what it is that people are intentional about. And we know that on social media, a lot of things get traction. A lot of negativity. If you are going to put up positive info on social media platforms, you're not going to get shares and reactions and comments and whatnot. You're not going to get stars for that. Don't fool yourself. Guaranteed you're not going to get those. But if you post things about controversy, about malice, about dishonesty, about cheating, about insults and rudeness and every other thing, we all know that that is the stuff that people consume. And because we go there, we scroll there, we stop there, we play and we repeat and we share. Because of that, we create an algorithm that pushes all of these images to more people than it would have otherwise been pushed to. And our children consume these particular things. And a lot of the times, the mistake that we make is to think that, no, that doesn't have anything to do with my child or the children. And my worry with that kind of thinking, it's that it's exactly the ostrich mentality type of a thinking, which says you're going to bury your head in sand and no one is going to see, even though your blessed behind is thoroughly 100% exposed. Only your head is in the sand. And I'm saying this to say that we don't do anybody a favor by being intentional as parents, and by also knowing that maybe some people are really not aware the extent to which we as parents have moved away from our parental responsibility, and we complain about, hey, this country is going to the dogs, when in actual fact, the country is going to the dogs, and for the country to go to the dogs is either actively or passively by contributing to the things that are not adding value, so that we have more people who have a better understanding of the fact that they can exist and be the best versions of themselves without hating someone, without destroying someone, without pulling someone down, without malice, without dragging people. The versions of themselves that will affirm to them that in order for my light to shine, I don't have to go and dim someone's light so that I can be popular and famous. And in fact, we would like to tell the children that the fame and popularity is a thing of a moment, and yet we do exactly the same thing one way or the other. And kids see what we're doing. Kids see the things that we are doing. So I will be selfish enough to say, well, as long as I'm not doing it in front of my kids, I can do it in front of everybody, including someone else's kids. And these are the things that we do, but we don't want to talk about it. We want to talk about Siya Kolisi's broken marriage. It's so amazing that besides his role in the Springbok, I didn't know much about Siya. But now when there's this thing that has happened in his marriage, I know things about Siya that I never knew existed. There are videos that are surfacing. There's everybody who has an opinion because there was nothing much to trend where good things were happening. This guy has been married to this lady for years, and the very first day that the word came out, all we've been eating on social media is Siya Kolisi. I have stayed away from Facebook because it was such... Yeah, you could see this. This is exactly what it is. I mean, we post about stuff and we share and reshare about stuff. And we're thinking selfishly of ourselves. And I'm talking to parents. If you are a parent out there, I'm talking to you. Whether you are married or you're not married, I'm talking to you. That we do that, and we are creating this thing, this blot for our children, for the future generation. And how we speak so high of ourselves, how we are apparently woke, how apparently we are now cleverer and wiser, and yet we are doing what we are doing. Maybe we are intelligent, but I wonder if wisdom knows us. If wisdom knows us. Intelligence, yes. We are educated. We are learned. We are popular. We are famous. We are loud. We are the life of the party. Intelligence knows us. Fame and popularity know us. We are influencers. We have followership. We have followership. But I'm wondering if we care about wisdom, not for ourselves, but for the children. And so, if this that I'm saying is true, how unfair and selfish we are as the present day generation of parents. I'm not saying this as a judgmental thing for the sake of saying I'm judging us, but I'm saying this, what you can. Is there someone out there who sees and understands that our children need us now more than ever before? Our families need us now more than ever before. Black people, our country needs us now more than ever before. Radicalism is a political word that I do not really understand the spirit around it. But I know that majority of our people do not know radicalism in a positive way. Yet, radicalism is a fancy thing that everybody thinks they are in the mix, in the inner circle. I feel that we have taken radicalism and wokeness and our rights and our freedoms so serious that we got lost in overconfidence to the extent that children are left behind. Because when we think about concepts, we think about things maybe in the way that we have learned, we have studied in the books, books that have made us to be these professionals that we are. And how unwise is it, or should I say how wise it is, how unwise it is. This is the perks of doing a live. How unwise it is that children will only come in when we talk about things or topic related to children, or when we get to the house that then children come to. But in the things that you do in your daily life, your children are irrelevant. We walk about and do our things as if we are, if truth be told, if truth be told, my generation walks about and does things as if we are still young children, young people ourselves, as if we don't have children. We collide with the memory that we have children when certain demands are made, and we are only there on demand. We are on demand parents when we are supposed to be ever present, even in the absence, the physical absence of our children, but to actually be present in how we engage with life, with the things that we perceive as things that make us happy. I mean, parents post stuff on Facebook, for instance, and you would swear that this person does not have children who may bump into posts such as these. And these are the things that we don't want to talk about. In fact, we would only talk about that particular parent when they do something so disgraceful, and we will share. And then after sharing that, we'll then, have our own clever wisdom on how this is below us and all of that. And without realizing that in our trying to be proficient about other people, we have done nothing to be proficient about positive things on social media, but we are able to engage when things go wrong. We are able to join in the threads when people divorce, when people separate, when people insult one another. The likes of the South African DJ, world-renowned South African DJ, didn't know much about him, except I didn't even know how he looked like, but I knew that he was one of the best DJs we have in the country. And yet, I became very much aware about his life and every other thing when there was controversy around his life. These are the kind of stuff that we consume. And if it's good for you, good for you. But if you are a parent, and as I'm talking right now, you are thinking that maybe I have not put a lot of thought on the things that I do and how they affect my children and how they contribute to my children. And it's actually even selfish to say that, well, but my children are not on Facebook. My children are not on social media, because you can never even know that. But even if that is so, that is a very small mindset. Selfish is a nice word for that kind of a person who thinks like that. Because the country, as I said earlier on, is on fire simply because people have abdicated their parental responsibility, and the children are on autopilot. Children are on autopilot. Children are being used out there. Children are being used and abused in churches. Children who have parents. Children are being abused and used at workplaces when they have children, when they have parents. Even at schools, outside Upper Eklaleni, children are being used and abused. These children have parents. But there's so much space for all the influence of the world in that child's life in that time than the space for the parent to engage and interact and be present in a child's life. There are people who are not living with their children in the same houses for many reasons that you know that I'm not interested in getting into right now. But the worst, well, they're not the worst, they're the same. But it becomes more glaring that there are people who are under the same roof with their children, but they, for all practical purposes, they are not there. The children are on autopilot. I have spoken about the people of my color, and there are things that we feel make us look or sound progressive when we adopt. The way we bring up our kids these days, where we say, well, parenting is like a partnership between a parent and a child these days, where a child has a say in that. And I know that there are people who hold very, very strong views on that. And I respect that. I just hope that those people can explain to me, how is it that a child who came to this earth and had such a life that they have, after you have all that experience that you have had in your life, that they can be a partner in self-parenting. And we even sometimes innocently then, saying that our kids are deputy parents and all of that. And I know that it's not coming from a bad space, but when you look into it, in actual fact, children have been forced, once the parents are there, into deputy parenting. And we have all kinds of reasons and excuses why kids have to be forced to deputize parenting when they're supposed to be children and be concerned about growing and developing and getting stuff that are supposed to build them to be better people and actually make our country to be safer, the future of our country to be safer in the hands of people who are well-rounded. Our kids are not set up to be rounded, because everywhere you look, our kids are taught by anybody else but parents. Parents' place these days is just provision of food, clothing, and taking. We become very proud about the labels that our kids wear, and I don't have a problem if you want your kids to wear a very expensive brands. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with ensuring that your kids will go to the best schools, the most expensive. Absolutely nothing wrong. It's an investment that you're making in your child's life. But I can tell you now, all of that thing, you are just investing for your child to go on autopilot and figuring out for themselves, and figuring it out how it all works for themselves, and figuring it out if they can say yes or no. And we find our children doing things that we cannot, if I'm not their biological parent, I cannot even advise them on, because what they see with their immediate parent, it gives them a right for them. They see this is doable. This is something that is nice to do. And we are really not very engaged in and very intentional about the things that we do around our children, even on these social media spaces. The country is on fire, and politicians are blamed. I have blamed politicians, and in fact, I still do, because at the heart of it all, they have a lot of power, which is given to them by us, the voters and the taxpayers, who are actually funding their fancy lifestyle. But if you are a parent who is intentional about bringing up your child in a world where they can become something in that world, you would realize that politicians do not have control over your life. Over your child's life above you. But more often than not, you find that our kids actually have role models in politicians more than their parents, because their parents are not found in the seat of role modeling for their children. If you are sitting there and you are one of these, this is not to judge you. This is not to say you're a bad parent, but this is to say that, have you thought about it? Can you do better? Can we do better? Can we help each other? Can we talk about these things? Can we reach out and ask to be helped on these things? I know that there are many challenges that are facing us. The country and the hardships in the country, they sometimes do take our mind away and off of the things that matter. But whilst we are busy trying to deal with those things, these children are growing. And as they are growing, the world is not waiting for your children so that they can help them be better people. The world is waiting for your children to use them, to abuse them, and to get rid of them when they are done with them. Can we talk about this? Can we do something about this? Can we organize seminars, and can we organize podcasts and talk shows to talk about what is it that we can help each other, advise each other, and do? Because parenting is not an academic matter. It's not an academic matter. Children need us. Children need us. And just in closing, I want to thank Mrs. Unati Nzube and her lovely daughter, Noni, for having seen it befitting that they organize a seminar, a parent and child seminar, which took place at Steve Biko Center in Ginsberg on the 26th, on Saturday the 26th. And I hope that you guys will continue to do this, Mrs. Nzube. I hope you'll continue to do this. I hope that the yesterday seminar was the first of many to come. We need this more often than not, and I'm certain that people that were there have actually shown that we, as the attendants, we just realize just how much we need this as parents for the sake of our children. You did a great job, Mrs. Nzube, and I have seen Ndibize Foundation, Mfundiso Uthando Ngwekazi, doing something in that particular space as well about the reality that is facing South Africa, where especially Black South Africans, fatherless children, the plight of fatherless children. And those efforts do not go unnoticed. They are very, very important. And these are the, activities that will not attract many people. But that is just the nature of life. The inclination of human nature is that things that are building normally do not attract a lot of audience. It's the things that are destructive where you'll find a lot of audience. Where there's death, that's where you'll find the eagles. And that's just the way it is. But with that said, it does not mean that it is not a worthwhile exercise. It's better to speak and help, to speak to and help one person rather than to disbanding the whole thing, if that one person is going to gain something valuable for their life, for their future, and probably even the future of their children. And having said that, thank you ever so much for taking time out to listen to me. Going on, this is unscripted. This is the very first time I'm doing this. I'm sure there's a lot of mistakes that you could have picked up, but be that as it may, this is just the beginning, this is the foundation. This is where we start. We don't start perfect. We start so that we have something to refer back on, and so that we can improve. So that the dialogue and the conversation continues. And if you'd like to have some kind of a suggestion on how this can actually be made to be better, what I have done now to actually be done better, I'm open to that, and I will actually appreciate that. You can share a comment, you can DM me, because it's my personal timeline. You can DM me and share your nuggets and advice, your experiences, and all of that thing. And if there's anything that perhaps you think I should actually make known in the next broadcast, please, you're more than welcome to do so, because I'm not doing this for myself, for the sake of myself, or for content making, but it's a burden to me, because this is a thing that really wakes me up at night, because a lot of times we back up the wrong trees. We're asking ourselves questions whose answers are actually on these very fundamental things, and how we carry ourselves in front of our children and the general populace. In the meantime, whilst you're thinking of it, God bless you.